Good afternoon. The mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetime by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Scout Law. Scout signs, please. Would you please join me in the Scout Oath? On my honor, I'll do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Would you please join me in the Scout Law? The Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Thank you. 2. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for assembling this afternoon. We assembled today representing millions of Scouts across the nation and across generations to launch a new organization called onmyhonor.net. Boy Scouts of America joins today to listen. We're asking today to be heard. It's my privilege and my pleasure to introduce John Stemberger, the organizer of onmyhonor.net. John.
Good morning. My name is John Stemberger, and I live right here in Orlando, Florida. I'm an Eagle Scout, a lifetime member of the National Association of Eagle Scouts. I'm a former Scoutmaster. I currently serve on our Troops Committee. I'm also a Vigil Honor member of the Order of the Arrow and have sons in Scouting. I also donate to the local Central Florida Council here as well on behalf of my law firm. Gathered behind me today are Scout leaders, parents, and Eagle Scouts from 13 different states across our great country. We represent Maine, down to Florida, over to Utah, and to Arizona, all across this country. We're gathered here for one simple reason, and that is we do not think that sex and politics should be injected into the Boy Scouts of America. Men and women you're about to hear represent literally millions of Scouting leaders across America who believe that if we allow open homosexuality into Scouting, it will transform the program into something that's entirely inappropriate for children. Now, in almost every newspaper I've ever read, the words Boy Scouts of America are banning gays. But this is simply not true. The fact of the matter is that there are currently gays in Scouting. And those of us who have been in the program for a while know who they are. But they are discreet, they are private, they are discerning, and most of all, they act appropriately in front of other young Scouts. And there has never been a witch hunt to try to find out who the gays are in Scouting and to remove them or identify them. So Scouting's policy does not discriminate against homosexuals per se, which is evidenced by the fact that there's no question asking you about your sexual orientation and the application. All are invited to participate. The fact that there are homosexuals in Scouting should be obvious from the fact that if you Google search gay Boy Scouts, you'll see many Scouts in uniform, and have been there for many years, saying that they're gay. So what's the rub? Well, the rub is this. Scouting's membership does not prohibit avowed or open homosexuality. The difference is very simple. These prohibitions, they prohibit actions which are open and inappropriate. They prohibit loud and proud behavior. They prohibit inappropriately parading sexuality. Scouting's rules prohibit the open promotion of homosexuality and the promotion of political gay rights, all of which are entirely inappropriate subjects for Boy Scouts. When it comes to children, sex and politics should have no business in Scouting. These are issues reserved strictly for parents. There's no way around it. If you allow open homosexuality within the Boy Scouts, you'll not just have people with the same-sex attraction, you'll have people openly gay, men outwardly acting out and acting out inappropriately. This is their goal. The Boy Scouts are one of the great jewels of American culture. Backed by over 100 years of tradition, the BSA has a century of success in turning boys into men, which can't be wrong, and which certainly should not be tossed aside so casually. Something's obviously working right if you have over a century of experience and success. We realize that there are some minority religions in America that have completely changed their religious beliefs on human sexuality. That is their right, that is their prerogative, and we respect that. They are free to change their religion, but they are not free to change the principles of Scouting, which are timeless and should not change. This change is not needed. The change will not solve any great old problem. It will only create a myriad of new problems. The BSA really has no idea what they're getting into if they allow open homosexuality into Scouting. If they do this and they make this change, we believe the following things will occur. First of all, we'll see a mass exodus of parents, boys, troops, denominations, some of the major denominations, the LDS Church, the Methodist Church, the Catholic Church, and the Baptist Church, Southern Baptist Church, all do not agree with homosexuality in Scouting. Some of these denominations are in a wait-and-see mode to see what the resolution actually says, and we want to be very clear. We're waiting to listen to what the resolution would say. We hope that the Scouting leaders will understand that open homosexuality is not appropriate in the program. Secondly, and unfortunately, I believe that you won't see so much adults, but you will see an unfortunate surge of boy-on-boy sexual contact that will result in further public scandal, in addition to the tragedy of the physical, sexual, and emotional abuse to countless boys. This is simply unavoidable. You'll see a flood of litigation by the ACLU and gay rights activists against sponsoring organizations that did not adopt the new policy. These Scouting groups will be left to fend for themselves, and literally millions of dollars will be spent on litigation, defending themselves against lawsuits from violating local and state non-discrimination ordinances. The legal protection that is now provided by the United States Supreme Court under BSA versus Dale will no longer be available, and these units will be subject to legal attacks. Even if they're with a church, just being sponsored by a church will not protect them, because it's not the church themselves, it's a separate subsidiary program of the church, will not provide the legal protection that they need. Not just will open homosexuals be allowed in the program, but the BSA needs to ask the question, how are they going to handle transvestites? How are they going to handle cross-dressers? How are they going to handle transgendered persons? All of these persons now have access to be leading children as young as 6 and 7 years old in Tiger Cubs. Professional Scout executives will be laid off, camps will be closed, other major programs will be cut back to accommodate the revenue reductions from plummeting membership and a loss of individual donors and family foundations. The heartbeat of Scouting's funding comes from private donations and major donors. It does not come from corporate entities. They do not need corporate America. They need the heart and soul of Scouting. They need the men and women behind me here today. Now, I'd like you to please listen. Each of these states, all 13 states, will have approximately a minute statement. These are leaders from all across the heart of America. These men and women love Scouting like you do, many of you in the audience, more than you know. They bleed the values of Scouting. They've devoted their lives to the youth of America and to the principles of Scouting. But the only thing more important to them than Scouting itself are the principles which upgird Scouting itself. I now present to you our speakers today.
My name is Malachi Baggett. I'm 20 years old, and this fall I'll begin my junior year at the University of Mississippi. I've been involved in Scouting for 8 years, and in that time, I've earned the rank of Eagle, my wood badge beads, and had the Vigil honor bestowed upon me. For over 100 years, the BSA has instilled in young men like myself invaluable qualities such as honor, character, and morals. For the past 8 years, I've strived to live by the Scout Oath and Law, and I've learned what it means to stand up for what I believe in. For the past few months, Scouting has shown me something different. These past few months, I've been taught that what the BSA teaches may not be true. If the membership policy is changed, it will show young men that at some point it is okay to abandon what you believe if it is no longer popular. Conviction should change with shifting culture. It will show that the oath and law are just words we recite at a meeting and not the timeless values that Scouting said that they were. If the new BSA policy is put into place, I will fulfill my commitment this summer to be Assistant Program Director at my summer camp and Assistant Scoutmaster at the Jamboree. But after that, sadly and with a heavy heart, I will no longer be able to continue with Scouting. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Watson, and I'm from Central Florida area. I have 2 sons who are Eagle Scouts, 1 son who is a Life Scout, and my husband has served as the troop committee chairman. My husband and I homeschool our children because we do not trust the government schools to teach the values and character we believe in. We school our children because we want to build in the good stuff and block out the bad stuff until our children are old enough to do this for themselves. I am standing here today with my two sons, ages 16 and 18. As their parent, I have decided that they are old enough and mature enough to be here and to be exposed to this discussion. And that is the point. When it comes to sex and politics, parents should be the ones determining when and what is discussed. If Scouting changes its membership values, then it will transform the program into a risky proposition that no longer can be trusted, and therefore I will no longer have an interest in associating with the program. Thank you.
My name is Dick Schulz. I have achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. I have a son who is an Eagle Scout, and I have a grandson who is approaching and working to be an Eagle Scout. I served as a Cub Master, a Scout Master, an Explorer Post Advisor, and a member of the Order of the Arrow. I was honored to receive the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award in 1986. I served in the Merchant Marine and also the United States Army. And after 25 years as a businessman, I became involved with politics, and I served 18 years as a member of the United States Congress from Pennsylvania. As I look back over a long life, the most meaningful effort in building a strong nation would be my work with the Boy Scouts. It is a preeminent organization specifically focused on the development of the character, courage, integrity, and strength of our young men. Boy Scouts doesn't impose its will on anyone, and we are not here to pass judgment or force a lifestyle on anyone. If homosexual activists wish to create a scouting organization, this is a free country, and we welcome their initiative. But we do not welcome the attempt to impose their will or to try to redefine the Boy Scouts. What kind of a message are we sending to young people if the very leaders who are teaching boys to be brave cannot find the courage to stand firm and avoid caving in to peer pressure from Hollywood and political activists? If the board of the Boy Scouts chooses to ignore the will of its members, friends, family, and supporters, I will very regretfully have to cease all support of the organization.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Anderson. I'm a Boy Scout leader in Springfield, Virginia, just 10 minutes south of Washington, D.C. My dad was in scouting, achieved the rank of life. My brother and I are both Eagle Scouts. My oldest son is an Eagle Scout. My youngest, hopefully soon, will complete his as well. I currently serve as a Scoutmaster for a troop of over 80 boys and have been involved in scouting for over 20 years. For the past 11 years, I've served as an adult leader in Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and venturing. I've earned the Cub Master Award, the Scout Leader Training Award, the Scoutmaster Key, and successfully completed Wood Badge for the 21st century. My chartered organization is a large Christian church, and we have 5 different scouting programs working with over 300 men and women from the ages of 6 to 21. Annually, our troop leads 40 boys to summer camp, plus we send multiple crews to all 3 high adventure bases every year. We disagree with the proposed new policy to accept openly homosexual leaders and youth into the program. We cannot support this. It's going to produce an environment in scouting that would be entirely inappropriate, injecting sex and politics into scouting where it doesn't belong. Should the decision be made to allow this type of behavior around our youth, we'll have no choice but to pull our Friends of Scouting funding, shut down the current program, and teach and train our young people through another movement. If you look by the bylaws and charters of scouting, we are a faith-based organization, privately run, nonprofit, responsible for teaching character and leadership using moral values as our guide. Ask yourself one question: how do we explain to our youth the definition of clean, reverent, and morally straight if we change this policy?
is Pam Smith, and I am from the Great Salt Lake Council in Utah. I have been in the scouting program for 25 years in many positions. I am currently serving the Great Salt Lake Council as Vice President of Membership, and it is my Council Executive, Rick Barnes, who has brought me here. I have 2 Eagle sons and a daughter that was an Explorer Scout. Both my sons and my husband are currently serving the scouting program as adult leaders in their units. In 1998, I received a Silver Beaver, and in 2004, I was a Wood Badge course director. Scouting has been a big part of the Smith family for 45 years, with the love of the outdoors, timeless core values, and duty to God. The Boy Scout mission statement says it all, and is consistent with our faith in the LDS Church. The mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetime, with instilling in them the Scout Oath and Law. The Scout Oath and Law are promises that we have made in the scouting program. Lord Baden-Powell stated, "All promises are important things and should never be broken. But when promised on your honor to do a thing, you would rather die than break such a promise." I love the scouting program more than you know. It is one of the most meaningful things I have ever done in my life. But I am prepared to leave the scouting program and resign my position as Vice President of Membership for the Great Salt Lake Council if the vote is in favor of allowing open homosexuality into the program. I cannot support a program that throws away the values that have been set for us for 103 years. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Collier, and I'm from the hot and sweltering city of Orlando, Florida. I'm an Eagle Scout and a former Scoutmaster. I am the grandson of an Eagle Scout and the son of a first-class Scout. My grandfather used his scouting skills as an Army doctor during caring for the wounded citizens of Hiroshima, Japan after the atomic bomb was dropped. My father used his scouting skills as a pilot in Vietnam, and I used my scouting skills serving as the United States Marine in the Forest Reconnaissance Community. I hope to one day see my son use his scouting skills while serving in his chosen profession. However, my decision to involve him in scouting depends on whether or not the Boy Scout program can remain free of sex and politics. Moral relativism is destroying this country, and the Boy Scout program is now being challenged. One of the last bastions of moral integrity and strength is being tested. I hope and pray for my son and everyone else that the national leaders of the Boy Scouts of America pass the intestinal fortitude test by continuing to add to the strong Boy Scout foundation started 103 years ago, rather than chipping away at it. I'm wearing today the Eagle Badge my grandfather earned in 1931, and this award will stay in my family due to its sentimental value. However, should the Boy Scout program fail the test, the Eagle Award that I earned will be sent back to the National Boy Scout office. The Eagle Award is more than just a piece of ribbon and medal. It is a lifelong subscription to core beliefs and values. If the core beliefs and values go away, so does the award. Being an Eagle is not just about earning merit badges. Stay strong. A Scout is brave. Semper Fidelis.
Good afternoon. My name is Lonnie Dunn, and I'm from Quincy, Illinois. I've been involved in scouting for 40 years. My whole family is involved in scouting. I'm an Eagle Scout with 3 palms. I'm a former Eagle Scout governor of the state of Illinois. I have earned my God and Country and God and Life Award. I'm a Vigilant Honor member of the Order of the Arrow. I wear the Wood Badge beads, and I'm a Silver Beaver recipient. I currently serve as Scoutmaster, Crew Advisor, 2013 Scoutmaster for the Jamboree. I'm a member of my council's board of directors, and I also serve as Associate Lodge Advisor for the Black Hawk Lodge. My whole scouting career, my Christian faith and scouting has been compatible and complementary until now. The BSA is considering a decision that is in opposition not just to my faith, but to most of the major religions of the world. For the BSA to allow open homosexuality is tantamount to the Boy Scouts of America endorsing homosexuality. There's just no way around it. From a Scoutmaster standpoint, there's the potential for a Pandora's box to be opened. Do we have separate shower facilities for heterosexual and homosexual boys? Do we allow heterosexual and homosexual scouts to tent together? Will transgendered, transsexuals, and cross-dressers be allowed to become Scoutmasters as well? Most important, if the potential to place young men in harm's way by allowing open homosexuals into scouting, even if it increases by 1%, this alone is reason enough not to approve the new policy that would allow open sexuality into scouting. If the policy changes, my family and I will immediately resign from the majority of our positions and responsibilities. We will, however, finish my son's Eagle Scout project, and my son and I will fulfill our responsibilities to our Jamboree troop as Scoutmaster and Senior Patrol Leader. However, once the Jamboree is over, we will reluctantly and sadly resign all responsibilities because of our commitment to children and to principle.
Good afternoon. My name is Kipper Tabb, and I'm from Duluth, Georgia, where it's a lot cooler than it is here. I earned my Eagle in the Atlanta Area Council, where I continue to serve as the chartered organization representative for our church's 10-year-old scout troop. One of my roles is to sign off on every volunteer leader in the troop, so it's important that each of those leaders reflect the timeless values that our church holds. As a parent and as a pastor, I can attest, often saying, do the right thing may not be what my child or church member wants to hear, but what healthy leaders have to lead in God-honoring ways. For National to change our membership policy would result in the elimination of a unit that has produced 50 Eagle Scouts in 10 years. We hope and pray Scouting will continue to lead well as it has for the last 103 years. Go to onmyhonor.net, let our leaders hear from you and what you believe is duty to God and country. As President Gerald Ford shared, boy, do we need Scouting. Thanks for letting me share.
Hello, I'm Terry Langford. I'm from Orlando, Florida. My wife Nancy and I have 2 Boy Scouts, one Life and one First Class. I serve as the Troop 40 chaplain. We chose the Boy Scouts because of the reputation of consistency and integrity in their program as they develop young leaders into men that are physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Professionally, I'm a marriage and family therapist. My wife is a mental health counselor. I have listened to many sad stories of trauma and abuse of the young lives, young boys who have been offended by perpetrators, victims who became perpetrators. If the decision is made to allow openly gay scouts as leaders and scoutmasters, my great fear is the door will be cracked to open even more doors for abuse and more stories of very sad things in the lives of these young boys. As parents, it will be hypocritical for us to remain and keep our sons in this organization. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Stacy Guerin, an elected member of the Maine House of Representatives. I'm pleased to be here today representing the beautiful state of Maine with our 14 inches of new snow and to be representing traditional scouting. I am a Boy Scout volunteer and merit badge counselor. More importantly, I am the proud mother of 2 Eagle Scouts and a Life Scout who is working towards Eagle. My husband and I have appreciated the wholesome influence of like-minded youth and adults in the scouting program through our son's developing years. I implore you today to preserve the moral heritage of Boy Scouting. Developing minds do not need the confusing messages that could arise if Scouting's morals, values, and convictions are abandoned. Preserving Scouting and the rights the Supreme Court has granted us are an important goal for us today. While preparing for today, one of my sons brought me a vintage Boy Scout handbook. Listen to this quote from that Scout handbook and think about it tonight when you lay your head on your pillow. Deep within each human being is laid a precious thing, possessed by no other living creature, a conscience. It is your conscience that makes it possible for you to distinguish between right and wrong, and that helps you follow the right trail through life. Your conscience speaks to you of the moral obligation you have to make your life count. Today I charge you, national leaders of Boy Scouts of America, make your life count. Do what is right and take a stand for the true moral tradition of Boy Scouting.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Miller. I'm with Boy Scout Troop and Cub Scout Pack 13 in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm an Eagle Scout, and now I'm a Scout leader and the father of a Cub Scout. The Scouting has been one of the greatest influences in my life in growing me from a boy to a man. Being a man means standing up for what you believe in. A Scout is brave. This has been a very long-standing position of the Scouts for many different reasons, but now they are talking about caving in to the cultural and political bullies. I urge the Boy Scouts of America, do not bend to bullies. This is not a message I will teach my 3 sons. I hope this does not mean I have to leave the Boy Scouts. Thank you.
Good afternoon. When I left Boone, North Carolina, it was 5 degrees. My name is Steve Onsley. I'm a charter organization representative from Troop 413 of Matthews, North Carolina. I also serve on the Etowah Charlotte-Mecklenburg Council. For 17 years, I have had the pleasure of watching and mentoring young men in scouting. As you can tell from the awards that I have here, I've mentored over 4 boys to Eagle Scout. I have my own son who serves for the U.S. Air Force as a pilot. He is also an Eagle Scout. Constantly, we have assured scouts and scouters that we have a tested wisdom as to how to bring them from boys to men. But if we remove our moral compass that has guided our organization for 103 years, our credibility will be lost with the American family. The French symbol, the fleur de lis, that shows on my Scout uniform is something that Baden-Powell, our founder, put on scouting. And he said, this is a moral compass for you. It is to represent 3 things. That a scout is to be helpful. A scout is to do his duty to others. And he is to respect and obey the scout law. But most importantly, he is to obey his duty to God. The 2 stars that show on this fleur de lis are symbols of 2 things, knowledge and truth. I emphasize the word truth because we want to live in the truth that we find in our Bible, that many of our own different people of faith believe in. And that truth, that is to remain morally straight, we have to not cave in to homosexuality. We cannot allow the winds that blow us off, these winds to blow us off course. We need to stay with the principles that have made us strong, morally straight. Remember, we agree, on my honor, I will remain physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'll try to be brief. It's kind of hard to stand there for 30 minutes and wait for your turn, so I'll make this as quick as I can. My name is Thomas Dillingham, and I'm from Collin County in Texas. I'm currently the crew advisor of Venture Crew 2150, chartered out of McKinney, Texas by the VFW. In scouting, I first served as a youth member, and then as an adult, I've held a lot of different positions, including commissioner, scoutmaster, cub master, I've been the member of many different committees. I'm an active Brotherhood member of the Order of the Arrow. But most importantly, I'm a parent. of 3 children who are in BSA programs. My son is 16 years old, an Eagle Scout. He's the current chapter chief of his OA chapter. My daughter's a Venture Scout, and my youngest son is a Cub Scout. As a parent and a volunteer, it's absolutely pertinent that you understand what I say when I say sex and politics have no place in the Boy Scouts of America. But that is exactly what will happen. That is exactly what will happen if we allow open homosexuality in our programs. Homosexuality is no more compatible with the Boy Scouts of America today than it was in 1910. When the movement was started, it wasn't compatible, and it's not compatible today. Has there ever been a time in history when our country needed scouting more? The Boy Scouts of America has a rich history of supporting our great nation. In World War I, Scouts sold war bonds to support the war effort. In World War II, they collected scrap metal to support the war effort. Today, Scouts need only to stand strong in timeless values. When I heard the BSA's leadership was moving toward reversing its long-standing membership policy back in January, I immediately resigned all of my district and council leadership positions and affiliations, and I will offer BSA no further support or involvement beyond my own unit until BSA comes back to its senses and does the right thing. This discussion simply needs to stop. BSA needs to reaffirm the ban on openly homosexual leaders. If BSA does not reaffirm the ban, scouting will never be the same. Now listen, don't take my word for it. Look at the Girl Scouts. Look at Scouts Canada, the Canadian Scout Organization. Those programs have both been transformed because they allowed sex and politics to be injected into their programs. 103 years of proven success cannot be wrong. So please join us in standing strong for timeless values. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Denny Henson, and I'm joining you today from Midland, Michigan, where I belong to a troop sponsored by the LDS Church who's had a long history of support for the Boy Scouts of America. My opinions today are my own as a mother and as a leader in the scouting organization, and are not the official position of the church. Our family has participated in Boy Scouts for over 33 years, and I have served as a Cub Scout leader, a merit badge counselor, and on the Scout Committee. We have 3 Eagle Scouts in our family, and my grandson will be the 5th generation to enjoy the benefits of the scouting organization. I also believe that sex and politics have no place in the scouting program. Scouting is about building leadership in boys. When I put on this uniform, I stand a little taller because of the principles and the values that it represents. Allowing the proposed changes to the membership policies of the program would compromise the moral code that has guided this scouting program for over 100 years. I personally call upon the Scouting Council, the National Council, and those 2,000 leaders who will be making votes in May to decide this decision to stand a little taller too and choose to uphold the current membership standards. Changing Scout policies to appease one group will only encourage other interest groups to demand that the Scouts make more changes for them. I believe that the activists that are pushing for this change don't care about scouting. They don't care about the youth or this organization. They have their own agenda. Changing the standards will put young people at risk, potentially exposing them inappropriately to open homosexuality and predatory behaviors. I have loved my association with the scouting program and what it has done for my family and the way it has complemented my Christian beliefs. But if the final proposal is not in alignment with my personal beliefs, I will no longer be able to support this program. Thank you.
Misters Brock and Perez, and those of the Boy Scouts of America Board of Directors and Delegates, We assembled today to ask one question. Why? Why abandon millions of Scouters to behaviors that, because of convictions of conscience, the overwhelming majority opposes? Why abandon a heroic legacy of generations of Scouts to a notion that is unthinkable? Why abandon parents whose right it is to train their young men on what is sexually appropriate? Why, sirs, abandon your hard-won Supreme Court victory on this very issue, one that guarantees your freedom of association and one that has been effectively extended to other private associations throughout the nation? Why abandon the time-honored values that are proven to transform young men into effective leaders for those of minority activists who are free to form their own group? Why abandon the legacy of Scout leaders that have preceded you for the inevitable ruin of those to follow? Why abandon your individual councils, most of which are chartered by religious organizations, to the lawsuits that will inevitably come? Why abandon your responsibility as leaders and delegates and board members to do the right thing for the very organization you swore to protect? Why abandon your duty to God and country by opening a future door to those who believe neither? My name is Paul Weber. I represent the Grand Canyon State of Arizona. I'm a Scout leader and a father of 4 sons, 2 Eagle Scouts and 2 pending. Please don't force us and millions like us to abandon the Boy Scouts of America in which we have invested so much. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our press conference today. Thank you for coming and thank you for listening. And I encourage you to visit onmyhonor.net. May God bless you and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.